Coming up in the news, the Minister of Grand Bahama giving an update on the work of the rehabilitation program. A local activist says combining the environment with natural resources should work to the benefit of Bahamians. And we have the latest on the GB Utilities $5 million reverse osmosis plant. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Jamila Mizik. Thank you so much for tuning in. The government of the Bahamas is now reaffirming its commitment to expunge the records of COVID-19 emergency orders offenders. The Rehabilitation of Offenders Committee was formed in 2019 with a mandate to review applications and make recommendations for the expungement of records to the Minister of National Security. Its focus has been on young people and first-time offenders. Tonight, the Minister for Grand Bahama is giving an update on the progress to date. Megan Shepard reports.
Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Ginger Moxie, calling it a good day for Grand Bahama, as some young persons, through the Rehabilitation of Offenders Committee, have had minor criminal offenses expunged from their records. Minister Moxie says that the government is committed to creating avenues for Bahamians to succeed.
One of our mandates in our 10-point plan for the Blueprint for Change is compassionate social relief and the expungement of records for the offenses that are due based on the violations of the emergency orders. Again, we are going to ensure that those records are expunged. And for Grand Bahama Island, this ministry is responsible for the promotion of employment and entrepreneurial opportunities for the island. I think this is an ideal time as well for those that have been not been able to find jobs based on these records to be able to re-enter the job market.
On Grand Bahama, 28 applications have been processed, and a recommendation was made in August to have 9 of those records expunged. Additionally, there were another 8 applications for expungement of records on Bimini. Committee member with responsibility for the Northern Bahamas, Dudley Said, says he is grateful to serve in this capacity, which essentially helps first-time offenders and young people restart their lives with a clean slate.
Some of the offenses were got expunged, small marijuana case, grievous harm, and 1 assault with a deadly weapon. But what I want to say is this is a golden opportunity for folks to get their life restarted. We did about 28 applicants. We got, like I said, 9 got expunged. We have 2 applicants. They applied too early. We have 1 more applicant. We asked to seek counseling. And we have 2 more applicants. Their record was referred to the prerogative of mercy.
Brian Bullard Jr. is a Grand Bahama resident that has benefited from the program. He says the process to sign up was smooth, and he is thankful to God for this fresh start.
With this offense, it had hindered me from moving forward in my life. I couldn't go back. I couldn't travel. I couldn't finish my studies abroad. And it's a little difficult getting a job because based off of what was on my police record, employers wasn't sure if I would cause damage on their job site based off my police record. But thanks to Mr. Dudley Said and his outreach ministry, I was able to get my police record expunged and move on with my life and do some productive.
Now, Bullard says he plans to continue his educational studies abroad. Said, adding that he believes that this program will have a positive effect on the wider community. If you are a first-time offender and interested in having your record expunged, Said explains how to sign up.
You just need to bring 2 passport pictures, any Bahamian identification, fingerprint, and 2 references. And you can pick up the form at the Regional Community Center. But I think this is awesome. I mean, when I talk about programs, this is one of the programs I think is the best thing ever happened to young folks, because they commit minor offense and they can't work. And I think if we look at it properly, if we could give the young men an opportunity to get a job, I think crime will go down.
Nationally, of the 200 applicants who have applied to the Rehabilitation of Offenders Committee to date, 31 individuals have had their records expunged. Megan Shepard, SEDNS Network News.
A local environmental activist commending the government tonight for joining the Ministry of Environment with Natural Resources. He believes it sets the right tune, but notes that action must be taken to ensure that future generations are secured. The Honorable Vaughn Miller has been appointed the minister with responsibility for the environment as well as natural resources. Environmentalist Joseph Darville says he was pleased to know that the Davis administration has joined the 2 portfolios, calling it a very significant combination.
I think it's one that's logical. It's almost one that I would say being sort of manifested from heaven above. Because we in the Bahamas, our country, our environment actually is our natural resources. It is by virtue of them that we exist, that we're able to feed our people, that we're able to bring millions of people to our country to enjoy our environment.
Darville says combining natural resources and environment means that there has to be an overall perspective that Bahamians are assured that future generations are secured.
And our resources are being used and abused significantly by foreign entities and by a very small minority of Bahamians. And that has to change. And I think in bringing the natural resources under portfolio of the environment means that it has to be seen holistically, that we cannot exist one without the other. And let's just look at a number of the natural resources that we have and how the Minister of the Environment must have the fortitude, whatever powers that can be exercised legally, to be able to safeguard and protect them.
The chairman of Save the Bays and Waterkeepers Bahamas says he wants to see Bahamians benefit from natural resources like aragonite and aggregate.
Year after year, I never see a budget line allocated to the aggregate that's collected from Grand Bahama, which is in the millions and millions of tons and sold to, particularly to the USA. They have a consistency within them that they could build the best roads, they could build the best buildings, and so on. But Bahamians are not profiting from the aggregate that's harvested in this country and sold abroad.
And Darville is trusting that the new minister will do right by the Bahamian people.
When we look at how we're going to enhance the, how we're going to profit from natural resources, we hope to see budget lines indicating the aggregate that goes out of the country. We want to see a budget line in the national budget as to what happens to the aggregate, how much money the Bahamas government is getting from it, who is profiting from it. And my take is that if there has been abuse in the past, there has to be recompense for that. People have to own up if they have abused the resources of this country.
The Grand Bahama Utility Company is now entering the final phase of their $5 million reverse osmosis plant. This phase involves extensive testing, which must take place for a 30-day period, and commissioning of the facility. The testing phase is expected to include environmental monitoring and regulatory approval in order for the water to be declared potable. All things considered, the plant is projected to be fully operational by the first week in November. and the systematic procedure will ensure the complete removal of non-potable water from the piping system to ensure the continuous supply of high-quality potable water. Now, construction on the new 3 million gallon reverse osmosis plant began in January and suffered a short delay this summer when critical equipment was not shipped on time. Director of Operations Filter Grant says, as a result, the utility company is roughly $9 million in the hole, including lost revenue, building costs, and providing free water while constructing the new plant. She also notes that the company has made a significant capital investment to provide resiliency and storm hardening of their systems, efforts that are necessary in light of climate change and anticipated increase in frequency and strength of future storms. Grant says the new system will ensure that the island's freshwater supply will never again be interrupted for a prolonged period due to a devastating storm. In other news, a small group of parents are up in arms tonight regarding the implementation of a particular rule associated with the National High School Diploma Program. They say they are fighting for an amendment that will benefit all students. Megan Shepard has details.
A group of parents say a policy implemented in 2017 regarding the National High School Diploma Program is disenfranchising thousands of students. There are a number of criteria that must be met in order for students to graduate high school, including maintaining a cumulative grade point average of 2.0 over the 3 years, completing 20 hours of job readiness training, and complete a minimum of 27 credit hours. Now, according to Marvin Clark, there is one clause that the parents believe will hinder thousands of students.
The ministry itself has enforced where the students who've gotten F between the grades of 10 through 12 are not going to be able to walk during their graduation. Their plans were to have recovery classes, but these classes were not going to be given until after you graduate or until after the graduation ceremony, which to us does not make sense. The former Ministry of Education, they enforced it in 2017, but not giving the kids amplified time to be prepared for their upcoming graduation.
Donita Clark is adding that she believes that the policy is also extremely unfair for students that have maintained exemplary GPAs. She is calling for more clarification from officials.
If you are a 3-point student or 3.50 and up or whatever, if you get one F, you cannot walk. So it doesn't matter if you are below a 2-point or in the middle or whatever. Even if you are up there and you have one F because something occurred in your life at home, maybe family problem, family separating, whatever, death or whatever, no one cares. And we're bringing that to the media, and we're bringing that up because not just our kids, but all of them are our kids, and they are the future.
Recalling a story shared with her by a student, Adriana Gordon says officials must show greater compassion to students who may be facing unspoken challenges, whether it be in their learning styles or personal issues.
Some of my son's friends, I understand, were let go from the system, I guess, because they say where they are now in their GPA or their grades, it seems like they will not be eligible for graduation. So they no longer attend the school. And, that was saddened because one of the young men said to me, Ms. G, they don't know what they're doing. And I said, what do you mean? He said, they don't know they could be putting criminals out on the streets now. And, that really hurt me. And I said, the devil is a liar. We will not speak that over you young men, and so we need to do something better with the system, with the children who may be not excelling to the GPA or grade point levels that we're asking. Not all children learn the same. There are different avenues and different approaches to get children to attain levels that we would like for them to attain. And so we are appealing for the compassion of whomever are in authority to revisit the system and find a better way to deal with helping these children when it's time to graduate.
Gordon adds that if students who will be removed from the schooling system, officials must also provide other opportunities for the students to succeed going forward. Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Education officials say the current policy was put in place to improve the level of performance in the public school system. The graduation standard right now is of a 9th grade education. This policy, they say, has been enforced in the public school system for the past 5 years. In other news, an advisory making its rounds on social media indicating that the Royal Bank of Canada is making amendments to its deposit account interest rates. According to the notice, effective October 1st, 2021, interest rates on their BSD deposit accounts will be adjusted. As it relates to savings accounts, all BSD deposit savings accounts are now non-interest bearing until further notice. The notice also states that new term BSD term deposits will be offered at a rate of 0% until further notice. For existing clients with a BSD TD, the TD will be allowed to run at its contractual interest rate until maturity. Renewals or rollovers of existing BSD TDs will be at a rate of 0%. This news not sitting well with Bahamian customers, and some are now rethinking their relationship with RBC. Activist Joseph Darville calls it unacceptable.
If they're doing that to the Bahamian people, I cry shame on that. It's despicable. It is uncalled for. They have utilized billions of dollars of Bahamians who have deposited money in there, lending the money to borrowers and gaining inordinate interest on those particular deposits. So I just cannot get my heart and mind around that particular announcement.
RBC has since issued a brief statement in the wake of that policy change. On October 1st, the bank changed its interest rates on savings accounts and term deposits to 0% until further notice. The bank reasons that its decision is in response to local market and economic conditions that affect its business and approach to the interest rates it offers clients. RBC concludes by stressing that for more than 100 years, it's provided dedicated service to the Bahamas and have been a good corporate citizen through charitable donations and community programs, adding that it values its clients in the Bahamas and around the world and remains committed to working with them to provide them with the products and solutions to meet their needs. And the hunt is on for 2 men who reportedly robbed a business establishment at gunpoint last night. The armed robbery taking place shortly after 10 p.m. at the business on Kings Road off Midshipman Road. Reports say 2 masked males entered the establishment armed with firearms and demanded cash. They were able to get away with an undetermined amount of cash. The assailants also stole a cell phone and a radio set from the security officer and fled in a western direction. Investigations are continuing. Stay with us, there's more news right after this break.